Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
I'm fine. How are you? I'll answer for the collective. Good.
Yay. I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And this is Watching My Stories.
Woohoo!
So we have not released an episode in over a month. So first, I think we should apologize if anyone's listening. But we've been busy.
Yes.
It's been a crazy month. I'm an accountant, so January closing out 2019 is always crazy for me. So it was just, I watched a lot of stuff, but there was no time to really sit down and do this. But I think we also talked about, we had started this, it was a weekly deal. I think we're going to now switch this to every other week.
Okay.
Is that what we decided?
That is what we decided, yes. Yeah.
So, it's just, I think there isn't as much pressure to just, try and fit stuff in, when we're so busy. We also have our Etsy store, which, if you guys haven't gone to or visited, it's called 3 Pupmigos. It is all t-shirts related to TV and movies.
How many TVs are there?
Lots of TVs.
Okay.
So some are obscure, some are very, of today's shows or movies. But they're all things that we love. Mm-hmm. So,
yes.
Anyway, so I have a lot to cover today. Mostly television. Some things that John will be able to jump in with, some things not. I'm going to try and get through some things just very quickly. If this gets to an hour, I might cut it off and we'll start a new episode, just so that people, I don't know, aren't hanging on.
Can take a breather.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that's everything then.
Ooh,
okay.
All right. I'm exhausted already.
Okay. So first we're going to start with a few movies that I do have. The first one is Bombshell.
Okay.
This is the movie with Charlize Theron and Nicole Kidman and Margot Robbie. Charlize plays Megyn Kelly, and Nicole is Gretchen Carlson, and John Lithgow is Roger Ailes. And this is kind of just that story behind Fox, where Gretchen Carlson left and accused Roger Ailes of sexual harassment, and then eventually Megyn Kelly coming out and doing the same. And it was fascinating. Mm-hmm. It was just like, so it was really amazing because, look, we've gone through a couple years of the Me Too movement. We knew about all of this that had happened there. Mm-hmm. I haven't read anyone's books or anything. But, as vile as I believe Fox News is, and especially Roger Ailes, it was still very interesting to take a look at that side, and really that there were women at Fox that did this. We don't give them, and I don't think in this whole movement we've given them enough credit. You know what I mean? And look, there's still women there that are still supporting everyone, and Bill O'Reilly eventually went down, and all there, it was not a good environment to be in. But it was just very interesting. It was very interesting.
Okay. Because
Megyn really, whatever you want to think, she took her time. She didn't know what she wanted to do. And look, all women are in that position. What is it going to do to our careers? Because again, Gretchen Carlson left and no one wanted her. Mm-hmm. She had no offers from anyone else. Mm-hmm. That's the risk still with women and having to come forward as to what is it going to do to your future endeavors and careers and stuff. And Margot Robbie she doesn't play a real person. She just plays someone in that generation, in the younger generation, that kind of doesn't understand what we've been doing all these years. We were just talking about this, it really, because of the millennials, this whole movement has come about. And then there's all of us older generations going, you're right, we didn't have to deal with this. You know what I mean? And so she plays that generation of, why didn't you say something? Right. Why didn't you tell me this? I wouldn't have gone up to his office if someone had just told me, that sort of thing. And Megan has a really horrible response of like, that's not my responsibility to take care of you. And Margot Robbie's character says, that's all of our responsibility. Like, we should be taking care of each other. And it's that little exchange that basically has gotten us to where we've become now.
Yes, that typifies what has happened.
Right.
That's allowed this to get to this point.
Right.
Sure.
But finally we've all realized, you know, we have to be together in
Right.
order to make this fight. So anyway, everyone's amazing in it. I still don't know what they did to Charlize to make her look like Megyn Kelly. I cannot figure out what's different, but it is so different. It is so her. She changed her voice. She changed her accent, which I never realized Megyn Kelly had an accent, but it seems right. It sounds exactly right, but I never realized she had an accent.
Okay.
So she's amazing. She has an Oscar nomination. Margot Robbie has an Oscar nomination for this. Nicole Kidman, she's not in it as much. It's not really her vehicle, but John Lithgow is disgusting as Rod. I mean, he's just a bleh. Ugh, it's so gross. And I just, anyway, but it is a fascinating movie. It's really good to watch, especially to continue the fight because, you know, I've talked about it on here before. I think it feels like it diminishes every now and then. So,
okay.
Bombshell, I believe it's on pay-per-view now. So, you can check that out. The next one I'm going to go to is Richard Jewell, directed by Clint Eastwood. Kathy Bates has an Oscar nomination for this, which is well deserved. Sam Rockwell's in it, and the guy who plays Richard Jewell is Paul Walter Hauser. And I am actually very angry that he does not have any sort of recognition.
Really?
He didn't get nominated anywhere. He's amazing in this. This is a fantastic story, but this is also right up my alley. I love these sorts of stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And it's not glorifying Richard Jewell. He was not a great, wonderful person, but he also was. It's really weird. He's just a human being, right? So he wanted to uphold law and order so much that he got into trouble because he went from being a security guard at a college where he got in so much trouble because there was no leniency in his eyes. You know, kids could not get away with anything. So he was writing so many people up and all that sort of stuff that, you know, he eventually got fired. So then he went to this other security company, which is where he was, during the Olympics, and it's very true. He saved a lot of lives that day, and to the point where the police did not want to listen to him. When he found the bag, he brought the police over immediately, and they were like, who cares? Someone left their bag. Like, you know, he wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't stop. And it's after that, what happens, it's all of that sort of, the horrible stories of innocent people being accused. It's the scary thing of our government can make a case in most people's cases. I mean, it's that scary thing where people go, well, I don't do anything wrong, so what do I have to worry about? They can find a reason. They can find, like for me, they can go through this podcast, find a sentence that I might be describing a different movie, and they will put it in my case to say that that's how I feel about whatever. You know, if they want to claim a bad guy, they will find the bad guy in that person. And everyone should be aware of these things because it's not just when our government is prosecuting, it also happens on every level. There are a lot of innocent people that are accused and eventually convicted as well. Anyway, the point is, this is just a great look as to what happens to Richard Jewell when he's heralded as a hero for a few days and then he's the main suspect and how everything goes nuts after that. And, you know, the real bomber got away for years. They didn't get him for like 6 or 7 years or something. I don't even remember. Because they never bothered to look anywhere else.
See, that's really interesting because I have to admit, I don't remember how it ended up. I remember when it happened and he was heralded and then accused. And my memory of it, which is bad, I mean, you know, full disclosure, I have an awful memory, but is that he was the bomber. And that's my last thing I thought of.
Yeah, see, that's also what's really harmful, is especially because of our back then it wasn't as bad. Imagine today how you can't erase things now on social media and all of that. But back then, even that was it. And he asked them for a public apology when it was all done and they cleared him, and they refused. So that was the stigma then attached to him. And he died. I mean, he was, I'm sure a lot of it was stress. So anyway, it's, Clint Eastwood tells really good stories. He really gives us a good look at this. And for me, I don't believe it's a biased look, because he's not your perfect person that you want to, you want to make a hero, but you realize he's good in his heart, and you do want justice for him. And Sam Rockwell plays his lawyer. He's fantastic in everything he does, no matter what. And so it's really well done. I really hope people see it. I know it didn't do well in the theaters, but it's a great story and totally worth watching. I will watch again. And again, this guy, Paul Walter Hauser, you recognize him. You've seen him in things. He was in I, Tonya. He played the friend that helped, get Nancy
the guy
Kerrigan's,
holding the baseball bat.
So you'll recognize him, but man, he's fantastic in this.
Okay,
so good. Yeah. Okay, next movie. I probably don't need to talk about a lot, because there's probably not, I don't know that anyone listens to us that is a fan. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. I'm sure I've talked about it on here before. I am a huge Kevin Smith fan. I have been since day one. So this movie I've been looking forward to for quite a while, and it did not disappoint. But you have to be a Jay and Silent Bob fan in order to watch this movie.
That's the impression I got, is that this movie was made for the fans.
It was.
Yeah.
And I was so happy watching it. I was so thankful watching it. It felt so good. And the one thing I found myself probably a half hour into, because he brought back everyone who's ever been in any of his movies. And they all came back and replayed their characters. And so as I'm watching, after, Jason Lee has shown up, and even Matt Damon and Ben Affleck is in it, and Joey Lauren Adams comes back. And as I'm watching all these people, I'm like, God, they're old. And then I'm like, well, so am I. I was like, right. Oh, thank you again for making this, because now I feel like, we're all getting old together, right, and we're all just it together.
You're growing old with Kevin Smith.
I mean, literally, his daughter, Harley Quinn, was a baby in, was that Strikes Back? I think the beginning of Strikes Back. She was in a stroller in the beginning of that movie, and now she's the main character in this one, and it's just like, how is this possible? How have we gotten to this point? So, yeah, there's no one you can think of that isn't in this one. There's a lot of other cameos of people just popping up that have been just in his life or wanted to show up or whatever. Like Chris Hemsworth, wanted to be in here, and so he's here. And the story is, at first you think, well, this is exactly like Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, but it takes a turn, and they know it. So it's very meta. So throughout the whole thing, they are playing tricks. They are breaking the fourth wall. It is all the beauty of everything that Strikes Back was. I don't know. I don't even know. You have to be a fan, but it is so worth it. I cried like a baby by the end of it. It's so heartwarming, and I'm going to cry now. Because Kevin is in it. Obviously he's Silent Bob, but then he also plays Kevin Smith. It's very meta. But Harley's there with him, and there's a big story with him and with her, and she didn't grow up with her father, and there's a lot of spoilers and stuff, so I won't get to that. But it's just this thing of, he had his heart attack last year, and this movie wouldn't have been made. Right. So
hold it together.
I'm trying. So sorry. Moving on. I just love him.
Yep. It's well documented.
I know. It's so stupid, but we've grown up together, right? So it's hysterical. There's a lot of funny moments. all the typical jokes that if you're a Kevin Smith fan, you'll get and you'll like. Otherwise, if you've never seen any of the movies, then you're not going to get it. But if you want to, I highly recommend Chasing Amy and Dogma. Dogma's actually my favorite. And there's a lot of references in this to Dogma. Lot of references to Chasing Amy.
Did Alanis Morissette come back?
No, but she's talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, where Jay's like, I've seen God. You know, she looks exactly like Alanis Morissette. So I can't wait to watch this a million more times because I know there are people in backgrounds and things that I missed, and so I'm definitely going to be watching it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So sorry about all the emotion, but anyway.
Wow, that's what makes you you.
Oh, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so that's all the movies I have.
Holy cow.
I know. There are so many. I'm trying to get to the Oscar nominations. Look, you guys, I'm not excited about the Oscars. I did not really enjoy the SAGs. I didn't enjoy Golden Globes that much. I'm not thrilled about movies right now. Television is so amazing that when I'm sitting down and I'm like, oh, should I see this movie or should I watch this show? I'm choosing the shows. Mm-hmm. And so I just haven't gotten to the movies yet. And I will. I mean, the Oscars are in a week. I don't think I'll watch all of them, but I'm also just not thrilled about watching this.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I don't want to sidetrack the whole thing, but something occurred to me while you were just saying that I think movies might start to have a real problem here because television is so good.
Yeah.
And there's so many avenues now that are willing to put big money into TV shows.
Yeah.
That your average movie that you would go to a theater, now or 5 years ago for, your non-superhero movie, can be done on television. That's just a normal 1 or 2 episodes on some of these shows now.
And what actors are finding is that they can dive into a character so much more in 8 hours, just doing an 8-episode season.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, what was I don't even remember the name of it, but we just saw a commercial for a show coming on AMC. It was like Sally Field. And remember, there was like a million.
It's like a who's who.
It really was. And we both sat there going, that's a show on AMC. This is why movies suck right now. Because, again, if I had a great idea for a movie, I would investigate. I would go, could I draw this out to 8 or 10 episodes and really make it meaty and wonderful? And any of these avenues, streaming or any of these networks, will they take it on? I mean, now these A-list stars are coming to television, and that's why you can't, if you're not going to get, I mean, again, there are great movies out, and but it's just you can bite into something deeper.
Yeah, so I guess my point is, take your average movie that's out right now. I don't even know what's out right now, but take your average movie. It could probably be done on an Apple TV or a Hulu or Netflix or something like that. Maybe spread out over 2 or 3. Maybe it's a mini series on television, but it could be done that way and be just as good.
Yeah.
Right. So I kind of think that the movie industry might be in a little bit of trouble in that the only thing that people are going to go to that's going to do well, and maybe down the road here in the near future, are your epic movies and your superhero, your big box office.
The action things that you feel like you have to see on a big screen, like Star Wars and all that. And I've been saying it for a while. They need to figure out a way to release movies on opening day at home. And I'd be willing to pay $25, $30, maybe even $50 for the right movie to be able to watch it at home on opening day, because the theater going experience is so frustrating to me. The people around, the noise, it's just very difficult. It's very
well, it's not good anymore.
It's not. It pulls me out of the movie so many times because of distractions and things. And so I really hope they get to that point where so many of us are set up at home in a way to watch really well, and not lose a lot of experience.
There's got to be a way for the movie companies to to have that, to release it for home.
The studios are good with it. It's the theater owners that lobby against it. And so, somehow though, how can we split the difference, or, I don't know, but we'll get there.
Well, now just having had the thought like 5 minutes ago, I'm now convinced that movie theaters are on their way out. So they'll have to figure it out.
We'll see.
I
think I've been saying that for like 10 years and it still hasn't happened. So, we'll see.
Well, okay.
But anyway, okay.
Sorry about that.
Let's move on to television because there's a lot.
Oh boy, here we go.
And we'll see how quickly I can get through some of these. The first one is The Morning Show. Yeah, I know it ended a long time ago, but I'm just getting to it. So this was the first season of The Morning Show. It's on Apple Plus TV. There are 10 episodes. This, of course, is Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, Steve Carell, Billy Crudup, and Mark Duplass is in it. And a lot of people. There's really good people in it. And we saw now Jennifer has won she won the SAG for this. I don't believe it was deserved, but good for her. And so this is a morning show. You cannot help but watch and think Today Show. Steve Carell, when the show first opens, it's everyone getting the text that Steve Carell has been fired because of sexual allegations, misconduct, that sort of thing. Him and Jennifer Aniston were co-hosts for 15 years on the show, and now everyone's scrambling to figure out what to do. Uh-huh. Reese Witherspoon plays like a small town news reporter. She speaks the truth. She goes viral at one point, and so they pull her on the show for an interview. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Basically, Jennifer kind of plucks her as the new co-host. It's a whole weird thing. So I was not in love with this show. There were lots of moments I really enjoyed. There were still a lot of questions for me. Uh-huh. Here's the, and I mentioned this when I first started watching it. The first problem you have to get past is that it's not Aaron Sorkin. And I know that sounds weird, but it is shot and it feels like the style of Aaron Sorkin. So when the dialogue is not as good, uh-huh, it throws you off at first.
Okay.
So I had to get past that, and I'm serious. It took probably 3 or 4 episodes before I could be like, okay, it's a poor man's version of anything he would do.
Not
right?
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. Secondly, the Steve Carell character and the whole sexual assault, we do see him. We have a flashback to someone who worked on the show and her experience with him. That was all really upsetting because, of course, he was typical. He didn't understand that he had done anything wrong. But that's supposed to be the catalyst for the whole show, but it got left aside a lot. It was weird. I didn't really understand it. And it's hard to dislike Steve Carell. Mm-hmm. So that was either really good casting or really poor casting. I don't know, but it's really hard to dislike him. So I had to keep reminding myself he's a pig and hating him.
Well, I mean, true to life, a lot of people went through that. Casual observers of the Today Show.
I was a huge Matt Lauer fan, and that day was done.
Right.
But I also wasn't watching him constantly after that. And if I had been watching him constantly after that, maybe it would have taken time for that charm and all that crap to go away.
Okay.
So anyway, but the big problem I had in this was Jennifer Aniston's character. From the first moment, she's really horrible. She's angry and mean and horrible. And throughout the entire 10 episodes, all she seems to be doing is plotting so that she doesn't get left behind, so that she doesn't get fired, so that America continues to like her. There were a couple times she had breakdowns on the air, and honestly, I'm not sure that, like, I think some people were saying, oh, it was a breakdown of that character, like that character couldn't take it anymore. I kept thinking it was still a manipulation. She wanted to break down on air so that she looked like a nice character. You know what I mean?
She
like
looked human.
Right. So that the audience still wanted her there every morning. She was horrible to her husband, then they were getting a divorce. She was horrible to Reese Witherspoon, which I really didn't understand because both of them in producing this show are about women empowerment and showing women getting along and all of that. And yet she was really awful to Reese Witherspoon's character the whole time. And it never let up. I kept thinking she would make some sort of transformation and realize that she needed to get real in order for people to really like her, because again, the audience started loving Reese Witherspoon's character. And so she started becoming the popular one on the show. And so you'd think she realized you have to change. And even up until the end, so there was this whole plot about outing the higher ups of the network that they knew what Steve Carell's character was doing. And so they're going to kick those people out and Billy Crudup was going to come in and take over. And look, the brightest spot of this whole show, Billy Crudup. He is fantastic. I love every second he was on the screen. Could not stop watching him. So at the very end of this whole season, Reese Witherspoon, she's going to out the network and blah, 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 blah. And like at the very end, Jennifer Aniston's character is like, yeah, I'm in. And she gets on air and starts outing all these people. And again, I'm thinking, did she have a change of heart and she realized that this is what needed to happen? Because the whole time she's fighting it, don't bring down anyone. Who cares of what we knew? That sort of thing. She was involved in the cover up basically. And yet she switches it at the last second. And I'm like, is she doing this because she knows that's what has to happen and she just wants to jump over to the right side? Or did she actually have a change of heart? I never saw any heart out of this woman. Even she has a daughter in college. At first, it seemed like that was her soft spot. But even then, she went to visit the daughter at one point and the daughter called her out on how she's actually behaving. And she threw up at her. It was just like, it called her horrible names. It was a horrible exchange. And I was like, wow, this woman is really awful, And I kept, I had to keep trying to, the good thing about what Jennifer Aniston was doing and her character was she was finally playing someone her age. She was kind of finally playing that very mature woman. You know what I mean? Not mature in age, just maturity level. She always is funny. She's always in comedies.
Yeah.
She
I think what you mean is a little more serious.
More serious, more mature, seeing her with that age child, seeing her with marriage issues, seeing her at work and wanting to be powerful. And there's a great moment where she is in a boardroom with the heads of the network and the studio and all that stuff. And she lets them have it. And it's wonderful. And if that had been like a moment of true empowerment, I would have loved it. But to me, it felt like a moment of her just being the bitch that she was, And so it was a little lost on me, even though the words were fantastic and I really wanted to get behind her. And I think that was it, I wanted to get behind this woman constantly, but she was never real to me. So the second season's going to be interesting to find out. That'll tell me at this end which way she went. Did she finally have that change of heart, or is she just manipulating again? I don't know. So I enjoyed it enough that I definitely kept watching it every week. As soon as the episode came out, I wanted to see what happened next. But I still had a lot of questions around the characters and what was really the point of it all.
Okay. How long are the episodes?
They're an hour, close to an hour.
So it's 10 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the morning show. It's on Apple Plus TV. It's good, and I know a lot of people just really love it. I think I was definitely tearing it apart.
Yeah. So I know we need to move on and get to the next thing, but I just want to say this: as you are describing her from episode 1 and on, I can't help but think that's her demeanor and how she approaches things and her attitude and her personality to a great degree appear to be what it takes for a woman to make it in that industry.
Right.
Right.
I also had that thought, but we saw her at home. We saw her outside of work, and she was the same way to everyone.
Well, and
so I had that
I
thought.
understand, but to me, that's exactly right. And how hard it is to turn that off. You can't just be that way to make your way in the profession or the, where you want to be and then be able to just turn it off at home. It probably, and as you get older, as you get to that 40s and 50s age period, it's not what you've become. And I get that. So I think it might be, I'm not going to say genius in how she played it, or if that's the direction they wanted the character to go. I think it's more, along those lines. She's not consciously an awful person. It's she's had to be awful
right
to make it, and now it's kind of just ingrained.
Gotcha. I can see that as I kept wanting a flashback episode. I kept wanting a flashback of the two of them, of her and Steve Carell, like coming into the office and working, and what she kind of knew and what she didn't know, and how was their interaction, because we saw them a couple times together, and they were very close. But I kept wanting to go back and see, was she this way because of his actions, and now she has to step it up to take control? Or was this always her, or was this something, so we'll see. I can maybe take that into consideration if I watch it again.
I think you should.
Okay. Next show is on Disney Plus. This was High School Musical, the series. This is the first season, 10 episodes. Look, this is great. I've heard a lot of people that watch it that really enjoyed it. And some people that never saw the movies and still enjoyed the show. It's fun. They did a lot of fun things to it. This was a very different take. This is not a remake of the movies. This was, this is actually the thing they took at this was the way they took the series was the school where the movie was shot. That this is the school where the movies were shot. And that school had never actually done the High School Musical, the musical, as their, school musical. So a new drama teacher comes in and she says, hey, let's do this. And so it's really just the story of the kids in this school that are now putting on the High School Musical, the musical. And so we watch them over 10 episodes, just rehearsing and all their stuff that's going on in their little teenage lives. And it's really entertaining and a lot of original music. Each episode had a new song. And when they get to the actual show, which we all know in the last couple episodes was a lot of fun. Good kids, talented kids, really, really talented kids. And it was just fun. A lot of inside jokes with the movies. It was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. 10 episodes. They were only a half hour each. And it's just fun. And I'm really, really excited for the second season.
Okay. I mean, sorry. Yeah, you caught me in a bad spot. I, of course, didn't see any of it. But, so when you first said it, Disney Plus, I perked up because I'm loving Disney Plus.
Yes.
I'm more of a nonfiction person, I think.
Yeah.
I'm eating up the documentaries on there and the behind the scenes stuff and that sort of thing. So when you said that, I thought, ooh, it's going to be something I like. And I don't necessarily dislike this. I just haven't seen it.
Right.
Now there's one movie. I think it's a Disney movie where the blonde girl, the short hair.
Freaky Friday.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a remake then.
It's the third remake. Yeah, the first one was Jodie Foster. She was the daughter. And then the second time was Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is the third one, which is a musical. The other two were not.
Yeah.
So I watched the new Freaky Friday on Disney Plus at least once a week.
See, I've watched it.
Yeah, because I put it on whenever there's nothing else really I feel like watching. I will always feel like watching this Freaky Friday. And when I need to be happy, I put this on because the music. So the guys who wrote the music for this also wrote the music for Next to Normal, which is one of my top 5 shows. And it's just the best music. And
it is.
I love the people in this. And yeah. I think I talked about it on here when I first watched it, but
probably.
Yeah, so now when I'm watching it, he'll be like, "That's a catchy song." I'm like,
oh yeah, 100%. I get you have that on, and I get sucked right in, and
I cry every time at the end.
Well, sure,
love it.
But it's a really well done movie, and that girl is really good.
She's really good, and the mom is Heidi Bleckenstaff. She's a Broadway woman, so I know her.
And I like her.
Yeah. So anyway, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about High School Musical,
okay,
the musical,
let's move
the series. On. So I just recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think a lot of people of different ages would like it. So it's on there. You can watch it again, half-hour shows, 10 episodes. So you're talking 5 hours. You're done. It's fun.
Okay.
Next series is a Netflix docu-series called Cheer.
Oh, Jerry.
So, of course, I was watching this. I think you came in the middle of the second one.
Second or third episode.
Yeah, second or third episode. And as soon as you sat down just for a second and was gonna,
I was instantly drawn to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I, of course, was watching this because I was a cheerleader. I was really a dancer, but I did cheer for a few years. So of course I will watch anything that has that in it. And this, as soon as I started, I was like, this is a real show. This isn't showing. It's not fluff. It's not fluff. They're not trying to hide anything. This is showing real athletes and what we do.
Yeah, they show girls face planting into the mat from 15 feet up, which is
yeah.
Ugh.
So then he comes in and he got sucked into it, and I was so excited, and we watched all the way up to the last episode that day, and I was like, we had to stop, and so we had to wait and watch the last episode the next day, and which was the most nerve-wracking.
So nervous.
Oh my god,
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So I know all of you have heard about cheer because everyone's watching it. It doesn't matter who. Everyone is watching it.
Yeah.
And so this is the story of Navarro Community College in some little town in Texas. But they have won, I think it's now 14 national championships for junior college. Got to put that in there. And these athletes come to this college to continue to cheer. And the coach is Monica. She has taken this program and turned it into what it is. And she takes in kind of the fringe kids. It is a junior college. So a lot of times these kids, this is what they can get to at this point, which there's nothing wrong with junior colleges. Saves you a lot of money. And maybe they've had, not the easiest time getting there. And so this show not just shows us what they're doing in their program and how they work out and how they get their routines together, but it also really showed us all of these kids and, what people have to deal with and what kids have to deal with and how they maintain and continue to get to this level that they've gotten to. And overcoming maybe families that didn't want to support them or just not having the money to really stay in because it's very expensive. It's a very expensive sport. They all persist and they excel, and it just pulls at your heart as much as just watching them perform and see what they can do. Yeah,
she's very much equal opportunity, and I don't mean that in just race. I mean across the board. She'll take the troubled kids,
right? And
she is like 1/3 coach, 1/3 den mother, 1/3 parole officer.
Yeah, therapist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She does it all, and she very obviously cares about the people that are with her.
Yeah,
if there are kids in her program, she 100% has their back.
Right,
and it's really.
It's very nice to see.
It's very endearing to see because, some of them have come from, fairly rough and tumble backgrounds.
Yeah.
And she doesn't judge them. She gives them every opportunity possible.
But she's also not easy on them,
No,
and I think,
true.
Again, that's what, in a way it's kind of nice because they're in this town where there's nothing really else to do, but you could also still get into a lot of trouble in a small town like that.
Sure.
But she keeps them busy, keeps them on a schedule. They have things to do. And they're, one of the things about being a cheerleader is your career is short because there's nowhere to go. If you get to college, you've got those 4 years in college and you're done, so it's one of those things where these kids aren't just there and they go, well, I do this on the side. No, that's what you're doing because you only get, a couple years there and maybe a couple years at a university and you're done. There's no professional league. There's no anything.
Yeah. A senior in college in cheer is really the top of
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're at the top of their air quote profession.
Right. You can go coach and then
I'm
there's
sure
no more performing.
I'm sure some move on to professional cheerleaders.
There is no professional
cheerleaders for professional sports teams.
Right. Those are dancers. They do not do
I know
this level.
I agree.
There's no tumbling. There's no stunts. There's none of that.
Before I am accused of sacrilege. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying there are probably some transfer on, try out and are accepted and make it, but there really is there's no professional level of this.
Right.
Yeah. So
most of professional sports, basketball, football, what they call cheerleaders are actual dancers.
Mm-hmm.
So and a lot of like this level cheerleaders are not those dancers. They are usually, because cheering is really bad for dancers, and you have to do different things, and your whole body is different. And it's actually bad for if you want to be a dancer.
Cheer seems to me, I'm a very casual observer, and I got to be careful here. I don't want to be beaten down for saying the wrong thing. But cheer seems to be much more about gymnastics.
Yes, and strength.
Yeah, and athleticism versus, and I'm not saying dancers aren't athletic.
Right, but it's different.
But it's just different, and you can see somebody coming from just dance and going on to be a professional cheerleader versus, out of this realm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I remember in like 5th or 6th grade, I remember when I was just getting into dance, a dance teacher telling me, because I was doing like Pop Warner cheer and stuff, dance teacher telling me that I needed to give up cheer because it tells your muscles to do something different. Like even just the stance of a cheerleader is kind of your butt out, your arched back. That's completely opposite of what you want to do with a dance. Mm-hmm. You tuck your butt in and you have a tall back. And so it's like, if your muscles start to memorize your cheer, what you need to do for cheer, it's not going to be as pretty as a dancer. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I don't know how we're getting off on that.
Sorry.
So anyway, this show, it is 6 episodes. They're an hour each. It goes by in a blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. We basically just see them prep for nationals. And in Orlando, or no, was it Orlando?
I think so.
Yeah, and
Daytona,
and getting there.
Daytona, or Orlando, somewhere in Florida.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. They're all the same.
And then finally them getting to nationals and what happens. And I hope to goodness they're going to give us another season, whether it's with Navarro or it's with a university or whatever. I loved it because I loved the personalities. I loved seeing that people are seeing the strength and athleticism that it takes for these people to do this and how dangerous it is. Mm-hmm. And because honestly, cheer programs are well underfunded. There's not a lot of money. There's not enough for scholarships for kids. And these kids are working their entire lives just like a football player has or any other sport. And for them to get to that point and there isn't enough scholarships or something for them to come in, anything that like this where people are watching this all over the place and are loving it, it opens up those doors and people start to pay attention and maybe it gets more funding to those sorts of programs. So, but I would love another season at Navarro because I would just love to see the next year and what happens and the difference in people. Because we saw a lot of these team members move on after this season and went to other schools. Yep. So it's addicting. It was addicting, wasn't it?
It really was.
I was so happy you got into it. It made me so
I was very surprised. I did not think I'd get drawn in like that.
No, yeah, they did it real. I don't think there was anything special in the way they did it. I think it really was the people. They were just, you wanted to support all of them.
And I will say this, in the first episode I saw, I think featured Jerry. That was his backstory.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't met Jerry first, I don't know that I would have stuck with it because such a big personality. And I think that really is what sucked me in. And then of course everybody else kind of, bubbled up. But, seeing his story and that kid first was, I was hooked. I mean, the kid is awesome.
Yeah.
So
he really is.
Good for him.
Again, it's like, if I ever wanted that much for someone.
Yeah, right. Right. I don't know that I've ever wanted
Right.
I mean,
I wanted to follow him. I want to know what he's doing now. I want to do what he's doing next year.
I want Aaron Rodgers to succeed in his business, but I don't know, as big a Packer fan as I am, that I wanted. I think I want Jerry to do better.
Oh my God. Yeah. I hope. I want the world for him. Yeah.
So Jerry, if you're listening, all good things, man.
All good things.
All good things.
Okay, so that's Cheer on Netflix. Obviously, if you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Stop listening. Go watch it right now.
That's right. Okay, next show is another Apple TV Plus show. It's called Servant. Ugh. This was the first season, obviously, and 10 episodes. M. Night Shyamalan was an executive producer on this, and he directed a few episodes. He was not the creator, though. This starred Lauren Ambrose, and Ron Rupert Grint was in it. Ron from Harry Potter. And this guy, Toby Cabell, you've seen him in another movie. I won't try and remind you. And then this chick, who I didn't know anything about. Her name was Nell Tiger Faree. She's like, I don't know. But anyway, all these people are, well, except for Lauren Ambrose, everyone was English. I think they shot in England. I'm not sure. No, they shot in Philadelphia.
Well, this is going well. Why don't you talk?
Well, it was weird because what I was thinking was everyone was English, the creator's English, all that sort of stuff. But I guess because M. Night was the executive producer, he got it in Philadelphia like he always, that's where all his films are. So anyway, the point of this show, number one, is fantastic. Go watch it. The point of it, I have no idea. I can't tell you. I don't know what the hell was going on.
You did try to explain it to me, and I gotta be honest, it sounds, I'm not sure how it sounded, but you seem to really enjoy it.
It is so good. It was so good, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And if there's not going to be a second season, I might kill someone. But I'm relying on there being a second. I'm relying on there being a second season so that something gets explained a little bit better. But also, if it doesn't get explained, I also love that. I kind of love when things like that happen where I just have to figure it out on my own.
Wow. Okay.
So I had to have my sister go watch this too because I didn't know anyone else who was watching it. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. Can you go watch this?
Is it fair to call this a mind bender?
Yeah, it plays with a bunch of stuff. So the point of it is this couple lost their baby. When that happened, the mother went into like a catatonic state. They were told by a friend, why don't you get one of those realistic baby doll things and maybe it'll pull her out of this state. Well, it did, and she thought the doll was real, and she thought the doll was their child. So she just they went on pretending that this doll was a child. And so they hire a nanny, because that's what you do. She's got to go back to work. And the nanny shows up, and within a day, the doll has turned into a real baby.
That's a good nanny.
And so the husband is just like, what the hell? And the brother-in-law is like, what the hell? And we're all like, what the hell? And at the same time, other weird things just are happening. There's just weird stuff going on in the house. The nanny's weird uncle shows up at one point and wants to take her away, and we don't know what's going on. Then her weird aunt shows up, and again, we don't know what's going on. And
was her weird aunt looking for the weird uncle, or
they came back together?
Okay.
And so finally at the end, we got a few answers about the aunt and uncle. We got a few answers about why the nanny showed up there. We found out how the baby died in the first place. There's a lot of information. Each episode was only about a half hour. They varied from 30 to maybe they'd go 40, maybe they'd be 25, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Not long enough as far as I'm concerned. I could have watched this show hour episodes for 20 episodes. I loved it. I loved the look of it. I loved everyone that was in it. The feel of it, because it was perfect. I really, really enjoyed it. And honestly, I'm not sure if we're just supposed to figure it out on our own. I think I could come up with some opinions. I could come up with some kind of theory that would satisfy me. But I'm really hoping that something kind of continues, because honestly, I could watch these characters, or even just the nanny character, if she went on to someone else's house, I could watch that for quite a while.
Okay.
So yeah, it's totally worth it. Apple TV Plus, like I said, just 10 episodes. It's called Servant. So good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Next episode is another Apple TV show called Truth Be Told. This was Octavia Spencer and Aaron Paul and a bunch of people. The point of this was Octavia Spencer is a podcaster who is a journalist. She made her career on a murder 20 years before where Aaron Paul was basically 16 and he was accused of murdering his next door neighbor. I think he was a novelist or something. And there were 2 twin daughters. They're now played by Lizzie Kaplan. And she made her career basically by writing all of these articles claiming how guilty Aaron Paul's character was. And 20 years later, a new piece of evidence comes up that she now thinks she was wrong and that he's probably innocent. And so she decides to dive back into the case and see if she can get this kid, who's now 20 years older, out of prison. By doing that, she has to bring up a lot of stuff. And so these twins have kind of been in weird places since their dad was killed, and the mom is in a weird place, and all this sort of stuff. And she's got her own family drama as well. And so you're kind of taken on this journey of trying to figure out what happened. And it's really interesting. It was a really good story. Again, right up my alley. I love this sort of stuff. I didn't really figure it out entirely. I had my thoughts that was probably the case early on, but I was enjoying it. Good people, good acting. I can watch Octavia do anything, and she's really great in this. I really enjoyed it. It was only 9 episodes or 8 episodes, something like that. It was weird. It wasn't the full 10 like all the others had. About an hour each episode, but really compelling and good storytelling. I liked it.
And so it wrapped up in those 9 episodes?
It wrapped up. I don't think there'll be another season.
Okay.
I unless again they decided she dives into a different case or something like that.
Okay.
But I honestly haven't heard anything about these Apple shows and what they're doing with them. So yeah, it's called Truth Be Told. Definitely worth the time.
Okay.
Really interesting.
All right.
The next deal is a documentary on Netflix called Don't F with Cats.
Okay. I've seen it actually. I haven't.
You haven't seen it.
No. I saw I was in Netflix and I came across it.
Yeah. This was actually, I think this was a few episodes. I don't even really remember. It took me a long time to watch this because I knew the subject matter was really difficult. But once you get past that, it's fascinating. So the main rule online, I guess, with people who are online is you don't F with cats. In videos, you just don't F with cats, I guess. That's the rule. Well, a few years ago, there was a guy who did. He killed some kittens on a video and posted it online. And people got really angry. And so these online people, just normal, everyday people, created a Facebook group and decided they were going to try and figure out who this person was and take him down. And over the course, it was basically, I think, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years until they got him. It's a crazy ride. The kid posted 2 more videos, because he knew they were trying to find him, and so he just started taunting them. Really horrible videos, which I did not watch. I muted, and so basically the first 2 episodes, I basically had to keep the remote in my hand so I could mute and cover my eyes. And I would look at the very bottom corner of the screen so that I could tell when they stopped showing the video. So I did not watch any of the videos. I don't think they needed to show them for this series. I think they shouldn't have shown them because I cannot watch animals, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but by the end of it, or by the middle of it, he then posted a video of him killing another human being. Yeah.
And this is real.
This is real.
It's not a show.
It is not a show.
Drama.
This is real life. They had found him. They had followed him. They knew who he was. They had his name, all this sort of stuff. And then he ended up, the next thing is this video of him just getting on top of a guy and just stabbing him a whole bunch of times. And then I guess a dog came into it and things went really bad. But I didn't watch any of this. So they figured out where he was at that point. They tried to deal with the cops. Cops wouldn't deal with them. Well, at the same time, now the cops actually do find this body. And then it's between the two of them of who's going to find out where he is first. And these internet sleuths, these people who just work normal jobs and are normal people, they found him first. And it's a fascinating story about these people tracking down this kid. Number one, figuring out who he is, figuring out where he is at times. And we're talking just by going to Google Street View. When he would post a picture, they would go to Google Street View to figure out where was that. They'd have a certain location or whatever, because the guy wasn't posting with the coordinates and all of that you can find whenever you post things. But they would just go and find locations, and then they could track him down. They figured out where he lived because of that, because of just posting a picture. It's amazing. It's a very, very great like detective story, even though it's based on this real horrible human being, but really fascinating as to what just a normal people can do when they get together and they're angry enough, because you're not supposed to F with cats to find someone. This kid might have never, and it raises that question. They raise it on themselves. Would he have ever escalated to killing a human being if we hadn't have started this and if we hadn't have come after him so quickly? So these people who took him down also still feel somewhat bad about what they did, but also we know that this psychosis, it begins with hurting animals. I mean, that's always
Jeffrey Dahmer started that way. A bunch of them. Yeah. So
it escalates to that point. And look, you can't force someone to do that sort of thing.
They're predisposed,
right? And this guy was just, I keep saying kid because he was young. He was insane and a lot of problems and a lot of delusions and all of that. But it's a fascinating story. That's all I can say is, you want to watch it. I don't like watching the videos. So like I said, if you don't, keep a mute button nearby and make sure that you can turn away when you can turn away. But really, I should have written it down. It was so many episodes, I think 3 or 4. And honestly, those videos are shown like within the first half hour, 45 minutes. And after that, you don't have to worry about it anymore, So then you can just enjoy it and enjoy the hunt and finding this piece of crap. So, it's interesting.
So I think I need a spoiler alert.
Okay.
How does it end?
They get him.
Well, what does that mean? He's arrested?
He's arrested. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And convicted?
Yes. Do I remember that? I know there was a whole thing. I think maybe at the time of this, it was still, all of that was pending, but he's in jail waiting for all of that. This was in Canada, so
Canada.
The murder was in Canada.
Canada.
He was arrested in France. Yeah.
Canada. Canada's supposed to be the nice ones.
Yeah, but he's not. Yeah,
this is the stuff that happens in Ohio.
Aw. Don't pick on Ohio.
Oh, it's I mean, sorry, Ohio. I do like you, but this is always the stuff you hear happening in like Cleveland and
No, this kid was international. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway.
All of that.
It's really an amazing story though. It's really an amazing story. So anyway, that's on Netflix. You can watch that now.
Good grief.
Okay.
That sickened me a little bit.
So we're at about an hour.
Okay.
And I still have a good amount. So should we close this off and start a new one?
I think probably.
Okay. All right. So this is the end of our first part. And if you want to keep listening, then get to the next episode and we will continue on with some more TV stuff.
Yes. Stay tuned for part 2.